All right, let's do it. Let's really get into it with white papers.
Yeah, dive in deep.
We're going to deep dive into white papers.
Love it.
And you might be thinking about creating one yourself,
Right.
and that's awesome because we're gonna uncover how a white paper can actually make you more money.
It's true.
Yeah, you heard that right.
Mm-hmm.
Think higher consulting rates, speaking gigs, the kind of stuff that makes a real difference.
It's all about positioning.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I find fascinating about white papers is like how they can position you as the go-to expert in your field.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just about sharing information.
Oh.
It's really about showcasing your insights
Yeah.
in a way that makes people see you as like an invaluable resource.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, when I hear white paper, I picture something super formal and, well, boring.
Right.
Like a textbook or something.
I think that's a pretty common misconception.
Yeah.
One of our sources actually points out that a white paper doesn't even have to be literally white.
Okay.
It's more about the depth of the content and how it's presented.
Okay.
Think of it as a platform to really showcase your thought leadership
Mm-hmm.
in a polished
Okay.
and persuasive way.
So it's not just about dumping a bunch of facts and figures onto a page.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's about crafting a compelling narrative,
Okay.
using data strategically,
Mm-hmm.
making your insights truly stand out.
Okay.
And, it's typically longer format.
Okay.
We're talking 5 to 20 pages,
Wow.
which might seem daunting, but it actually gives you the space to like dive deep
Right.
and back up your claims with evidence.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal.
Yeah.
But why should someone bother creating a white paper when there are so many other ways to share information online?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It really boils down to the unique advantages that white papers offer.
Okay.
First, they establish your credibility in a way that short blog posts or social media updates just can't.
Right.
When you invest the time and effort to create a well-researched white paper,
Yeah.
it sends a very clear message.
Uh-huh.
Like, I know what I'm talking about.
So it's like a badge of expertise.
Yeah,
Especially if you're in a competitive field.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this expertise can translate into real-world benefits.
Okay.
For example, let's say you're a consultant.
Mm.
A compelling white paper can justify charging higher rates
Okay.
because you've demonstrated your in-depth knowledge.
I never thought of it that way. It's like investing in your own value proposition.
Mm,
But I can see how that would be super appealing to potential clients.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of appealing,
Yeah.
white papers can be incredible lead magnets.
Okay. Break that down for me. What makes them so effective at generating leads?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
When someone downloads your white paper,
Mhm.
they're not just passively consuming content.
Oh,
They're actively seeking out your expertise.
okay.
They're basically raising their hand and saying, hey,
Yeah.
I'm interested in what you have to say. Tell me more.
So you're attracting highly qualified leads,
Yes.
people who are already interested in your niche and are more likely to convert into paying customers.
Precisely.
Okay.
And because you're providing valuable content up front, you're building trust
Right.
and establishing a relationship with potential clients before they even contact you.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sold on the why.
Good.
But how do you actually create a white paper that's not only informative, but also engaging and persuasive?
Right.
One of our sources outlines a 5-step process that seems pretty straightforward.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
The first step, and arguably the most important,
Okay.
is defining your objective.
Okay.
What are you trying to achieve with this white paper?
Right, because a white paper aimed at generating leads will look different from one designed to educate the market about a new product or service. Yeah.
And even within lead generation, you might have different goals.
Okay.
Are you looking for a high volume of leads?
Uh-huh.
Or are you targeting a specific niche audience?
So you really need to get clear on your goals before you even start writing.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you risk creating a white paper that's all over the place and doesn't achieve anything specific.
You got it.
Okay.
So once you have a clear objective,
Mm-hmm.
the next step is to dive into research.
Okay.
And I'm not just talking about Googling a few articles.
Right.
I'm talking about deep, insightful research that sets your white paper apart.
So we're talking data statistics case studies.
Exactly.
The kind of stuff that really backs up your claims and makes people go, wow, they really know their stuff.
Right. And here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The type of data you use can make a huge difference.
Oh, okay.
Think original surveys or proprietary benchmarks.
Ooh.
This level of research shows you're not just rehashing old information.
Right.
You're bringing something new to the table.
So it's about going beyond the surface level and providing insights that people can't find anywhere else.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this level of research not only strengthens your credibility, but also makes your white paper more valuable to your target audience.
A research check.
Yeah.
What's the next ingredient in this white paper recipe?
Structure is key.
Okay.
A well-structured white paper guides the reader through your ideas in a logical and engaging way.
Okay.
It's like building a house.
Okay.
You need a solid foundation and a clear framework.
So walk me through the ideal structure. Where do you start?
Start with a compelling introduction that hooks the reader
Okay.
and clearly states the problem you're addressing.
Okay.
Then you delve into the problem's nuances, showing why it matters to the reader.
Okay.
Next, you present your solution. This is where all that insightful research comes in.
Right.
Back up your claims with data, case studies, and real-world examples.
Okay.
Finally, you end with a powerful conclusion that summarizes your key points and leaves the reader with a clear call to action.
So it's like a story with a beginning, middle, and end, except instead of characters, we have insights and solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like a good story, a well-structured white paper keeps the reader engaged and wanting to learn more.
Okay, so we've got our objective, our research, and our structure.
Right.
What's next?
Now it's time to focus on the writing itself.
Okay.
Even with the most brilliant insights.
Yeah.
If your writing is dry and technical, people are going to tune out.
So how do you make sure your writing is clear, concise, and, dare I say, enjoyable to read?
One of our sources stresses the importance of finding your own voice.
Okay.
And writing with personality. Don't be afraid to use storytelling anecdotes and even humor,
Okay.
sparingly, of course,
Right?
to make your white paper more engaging.
So it's about finding that balance between being informative and being interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to provide valuable information, but also make it a pleasure to read.
Okay, last but not least, we have to talk about design.
Yes.
Because, let's be honest, first impressions matter, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of our sources makes a great point.
Mm-hmm.
A visually appealing white paper
Yeah.
signals professionalism and expertise.
Okay.
Think about it. Would you rather read a dense wall of text
No?
or a document with well-placed visuals, clear headings,
Right.
and an engaging layout?
No contest.
Yeah.
The design can make or break a white paper.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to invest in professional design services
Okay.
or learn some basic design principles yourself.
Okay.
It's an investment that will pay off in the long run.
All right, so we've covered the 5 key steps to creating a winning white paper,
Yes,
but I have a feeling there's a lot more to uncover,
definitely.
especially when it comes to those unconventional formats and out-of-the-box distribution strategies.
Absolutely.
Well, let's not keep our listeners waiting any longer.
Right.
We've got a lot more to unpack, so stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of white papers.
Can't wait. You know, one of our sources, it's interesting because this was written entirely in French,
Okay.
but it highlights how nonprofits and NGOs
Oh, wow.
are using white papers really effectively for advocacy and fundraising.
Really? That's cool. I hadn't thought about it in that context before. So how are they using white papers differently?
Well, this source emphasizes that white papers can be powerful tools for shaping public opinion and influencing policy decisions.
Oh, wow.
They can present compelling research and data
Hmm.
that supports a cause and motivates people to take action.
So instead of pitching a product, they're pitching an idea or a movement.
Exactly. They're using white papers to raise awareness, educate the public,
Yeah.
and ultimately drive change.
That's a really inspiring use case. It
Yeah.
shows that white papers can be so much more than just marketing tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this source also highlights how white papers can be used for internal communication within organizations.
Oh.
For example, a company might use a white paper to explain a new strategy to employees
Okay.
or to present the findings of a complex research project.
So they can be valuable for knowledge sharing and aligning everyone around a common goal.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this source even suggests that white papers can be used for educational purposes, like providing students with in-depth information on a specific topic.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's like a more engaging and interactive alternative to a traditional textbook. So we've seen how white papers can be used for marketing, advocacy, internal communication, and even education. It's a pretty wide range of applications.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the versatility and power of this format.
For sure.
But let's not forget about the practicalities.
Right.
One of our sources provides a ton of helpful tips on how to actually write a white paper that people will want to read.
Okay, let's dive into that. What are some of their key recommendations?
Well, they emphasize the importance of starting with a strong hook.
Hmm.
You need to grab the reader's attention right from the start
Okay.
and make them want to keep reading.
I can see why that's crucial.
Yeah,
With so much content competing for our attention these days, you have to make a strong first impression.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And they suggest using a variety of techniques to hook the reader,
Mm-hmm.
such as posing a thought-provoking question,
Okay.
sharing a surprising statistic,
Yeah. Yeah.
or telling a compelling story.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way to pique the reader's curiosity and make them invested in the topic. But how do you keep that momentum going throughout the entire white paper?
This source stresses the importance of clear and concise writing.
Okay.
Avoid jargon and technical terms that your audience might not understand.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between being informative and being accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they recommend using visuals like charts, graphs, and images
Mm-hmm.
to break up the text and make it more engaging. Remember, people are visual creatures, so incorporating visuals can really enhance the readability of your white paper.
That's a great point. A well-placed visual can often communicate an idea more effectively than a paragraph of text.
Absolutely. And don't forget about the importance of a strong conclusion.
Okay.
Your conclusion should summarize your key points,
Yeah.
reinforce your main arguments,
Mhm.
and leave the reader with a clear understanding of what you want them to do next.
So it's not just about ending the white paper, it's about providing a sense of closure and inspiring action. Now, one thing that I'm really curious about is those unconventional formats we touched on earlier. Are there any specific examples of white papers that have really pushed the boundaries?
There are some really innovative examples out there.
Okay.
One of our sources highlights a white paper that was actually designed as an interactive website.
Wow.
It used multimedia elements, animations,
Oh.
and interactive quizzes to engage the reader and make the content more memorable.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like taking the concept of a white paper and turning it into an immersive digital experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shows that you don't have to be limited by the traditional format.
Right.
You can experiment with different mediums and technologies to create something truly unique and engaging.
I'm starting to see that the possibilities are pretty much endless when it comes to white paper formats.
They really are.
Huh.
Another example mentioned in this source is a white paper that was created as a series of short videos.
Okay.
This format is great for people who prefer consuming information visually
Mm-hmm.
and in bite-sized chunks.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It caters to the way people are consuming content these days. Short, engaging videos that get straight to the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this source even mentions a white paper that was presented as a graphic novel.
And a graphic novel. That's brilliant.
It's like combining education and entertainment in a really unique way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it shows that you can be really creative and think outside the box when it comes to white paper formats.
Okay, so we've covered the creation process
Right.
and even explored some unconventional formats.
Yes.
But how do you actually get your white paper into the hands of your target audience?
That's where distribution comes in.
Okay.
And it's just as important as the creation process itself.
Okay.
One of our sources outlines a multi-pronged approach that combines traditional and digital strategies.
Okay, so let's break it down. Where do you start?
Start with the basics.
Okay.
Make sure your white paper is easily accessible on your website.
Okay.
Create a dedicated landing page where people can download it and link to it from relevant pages on your site.
So make it as easy as possible for people to find and download it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And don't forget about social media.
Right.
Promote your white paper on all your social channels
Mm-hmm.
using eye-catching visuals and compelling copy to drive traffic to your landing page.
Social media is such a powerful tool for reaching a wider audience. But are there any specific strategies for promoting white papers on different platforms?
Absolutely. One of our sources suggests tailoring your messaging
Okay.
to the specific platform you're using.
Okay.
For example, on LinkedIn, you might focus on the professional benefits of reading your white paper,
Okay.
while on Twitter,
Yeah.
you might use a more casual and conversational tone.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
It's about understanding the nuances of each platform and crafting your messaging accordingly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of email marketing.
Okay.
If you have a newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
promote your white paper to your subscribers.
Okay.
They're already engaged with your brand
Right.
and are more likely to be interested in your in-depth content.
That's so true. Your email list is a goldmine of potential readers.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a strategy that I think is particularly clever.
Okay.
Partner with other businesses or influencers in your industry to promote your white paper to their audiences.
That's a great way to expand your reach and tap into new networks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can be a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Okay.
You're providing valuable content to their audience,
Mm-hmm.
and they're helping you get your white paper in front of more people.
So it's a win-win situation.
Precisely.
Okay.
And finally, don't be afraid to experiment with paid promotion.
Okay.
Platforms like Google Ads and LinkedIn Ads can be incredibly effective for targeting specific demographics and interests.
Paid promotion can be a great way to boost visibility, especially if you're launching a new white paper or trying to reach a specific niche audience.
Exactly. And one of our sources provides some really helpful tips
Mm-hmm.
on how to create effective ad campaigns for white papers.
Okay.
They emphasize the importance of using strong calls to action,
Oh.
targeting the right keywords,
Mm-hmm.
and tracking your results carefully.
That's great advice. Paid promotion can be a powerful tool, but it's important to use it strategically to get the best results. Yeah.
And with so many distribution channels available,
Right.
it's important to choose the ones that align best with your goals
Mm-hmm.
and target audience.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
This has been so insightful. We've
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground, from the basics of white paper creation to some really advanced strategies for distribution.
Yeah, fine.
But there's one more source we need to explore,
Okay.
and it takes a slightly different approach,
All right.
focusing on what it calls the psychology of persuasion.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. How does psychology play into white paper marketing?
Well, this source argues that effective white papers go beyond simply presenting information.
Okay.
They use psychological principles
Oh, wow.
to influence the reader's thinking and behavior.
I'm fascinated to learn more about this. What are some of the key psychological principles they highlight?
Well, they talk about the importance of building credibility and trust right from the start.
Okay.
They suggest using evidence-based arguments,
Mm-hmm.
citing reputable sources, and showcasing your expertise in a subtle but effective way.
That makes sense.
Oh.
If you want people to take your ideas seriously, you need to establish yourself as a trustworthy and knowledgeable source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also talk about the power of social proof.
Okay.
They suggest incorporating testimonials, case studies,
Mhm.
and data points that show how others have benefited from your ideas or solutions.
That's a classic psychological principle.
Yeah.
We're more likely to be persuaded by something if we see that others have already endorsed it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And they also highlight the importance of framing your message in a way that resonates with your target audience.
Okay.
They suggest understanding their values, beliefs,
Right.
and motivations,
Okay.
and tailoring your language and arguments accordingly.
So it's about speaking their language and appealing to their specific needs and desires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this source even delves into the psychology of design,
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that visual elements can play a powerful role in persuasion. They recommend using colors, fonts, and imagery that evoke certain emotions and associations.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like taking all the principles of marketing psychology and applying them to the specific format of a white paper.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I think this source provides some really valuable insights that can help us create even more effective and persuasive white papers. We've uncovered so many valuable insights already, from practical tips on writing and design to strategic advice on distribution and the psychology of persuasion. But there's one more source I'd like to touch on before we wrap up this deep dive.
I'm all ears. What's this final source all about?
This one focuses on a really interesting concept,
Okay.
the future of white papers.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. What does the future hold for this seemingly timeless format?
Well, this source argues that as technology evolves and content consumption habits change,
Right.
white papers will need to adapt to stay relevant and engaging.
That makes sense. We've already seen some examples of unconventional formats like interactive websites and video series. I'm curious to know what other innovations they foresee.
This source predicts that we'll see a rise in personalized white papers,
Okay.
where the content is tailored to the specific needs and interests of the individual reader.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Imagine receiving a white paper that's specifically curated for you based on your industry, your role, and your past interactions with the brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would make the content so much more relevant and valuable.
I could see how that would be a game changer in terms of engagement and lead generation.
Absolutely. And this source also predicts that we'll see a growing emphasis on interactive elements in white papers.
Hmm.
Think quizzes, polls, and interactive data visualizations
Okay.
that allow readers to actively engage with the content.
That's a great way to make white papers more dynamic and memorable.
Exactly. And they also foresee a greater integration of artificial intelligence,
Uh-huh.
AI. In the creation and distribution of white papers, AI-powered tools can help us automate certain tasks, personalize content,
Mm-hmm.
and even optimize our distribution strategies.
That's fascinating. It sounds like the future of white papers is all about personalization, interactivity, and intelligent automation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I think these trends present some really exciting opportunities for marketers and thought leaders who are looking to create cutting-edge content that truly stands out.
I completely agree. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, and I feel like we've gained a comprehensive understanding of white papers from their historical roots to their potential future.
We've explored their various applications,
Mhm.
the key steps involved in creating them,
Right.
the strategies for distributing them effectively,
Yeah.
and even the psychology behind making them persuasive.
It's been an incredibly insightful journey, and I'm sure our listener feels equipped to tackle their own white paper project with confidence and creativity.
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize that while we've explored a lot of advanced concepts and strategies, the most important thing is to focus on creating high-quality content
Yes.
that provides genuine value to your audience.
Well said. Whether you're using a traditional format or experimenting with something more unconventional, the key is to deliver insights that are insightful, informative, and engaging.
And remember, a white paper is an investment in your expertise and your brand.
It's a chance to showcase your thought leadership, build credibility, and establish yourself as a go-to resource in your field.
So go forth, create amazing white papers,
Yes.
and share your knowledge with the world. Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing possibilities for the future of white papers, but this one source brings us back down to earth a little bit
Okay.
with a really important point. It's not enough to just create a great white paper. You also need to make sure it's actually findable.
That's true. One of our sources, they really emphasize that.
Yeah.
You can have the most brilliant white paper in the world, but if it's buried on your website
Right.
or lost in the sea of online content,
Yeah.
no one's ever going to see it.
It's like having a treasure chest filled with gold, but burying it in your backyard and never telling anyone where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this source emphasizes the importance of search engine optimization.
SEO.
SEO, yeah.
Okay.
You need to make sure your white paper is optimized for relevant keywords so that people can easily find it when they're searching for information online.
That makes total sense. But how do you actually optimize a white paper for SEO? It's not like a blog post where you can just sprinkle keywords throughout the text.
You're right. It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
This source recommends conducting keyword research
Okay.
to identify the terms that your target audience is actually using
Mm-hmm.
when they're searching for information related to your topic.
So it's about understanding how people are actually phrasing their searches.
Yes.
And then incorporating those keywords strategically into your white paper's title, headings,
Yeah.
and body text.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about stuffing keywords into your content.
Right.
You need to use them naturally and organically
Mm-hmm.
in a way that enhances the readability and value of your white paper.
Got it. So it's about finding that balance between SEO best practices and creating a piece of content that's actually informative and enjoyable to read.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this source also highlights the importance of promoting your white paper on social media,
Right.
using relevant hashtags and engaging with your followers
Mm-hmm.
to generate buzz and drive traffic to your landing page.
Social media is such a powerful tool for amplifying your reach and getting your white paper in front of a wider audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't forget about the importance of backlinks.
Okay.
When other websites link to your white paper,
Yeah.
it signals to search engines that your content is valuable and authoritative,
Mm-hmm.
which can boost your search rankings.
So it's about building relationships with other websites and getting them to link to your white paper as a credible resource.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this source provides some really practical tips on how to build backlinks,
Okay.
including guest blogging,
Okay.
reaching out to influencers,
Mm-hmm.
and participating in online forums and communities.
Those are all great strategies. It's about being proactive and finding ways to get your white paper in front of new audiences.
And speaking of new audiences,
Yeah.
this source also encourages us to explore unconventional distribution channels.
Okay.
They suggest thinking outside the box
All right.
and finding creative ways to get your white paper in front of people
Yeah.
who might not be actively searching for it online.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me some examples of what those unconventional channels might look like.
Well, they mentioned the possibility of partnering with industry events or conferences
Okay.
to distribute your white paper to attendees.
Okay.
You could also explore co-marketing opportunities
Mm-hmm.
with other businesses that target a similar audience.
Those are great ideas. It's about leveraging existing networks and platforms to expand your reach.
Exactly. And they even suggest exploring offline distribution channels,
Okay.
like printing a limited number of high-quality copies of your white paper
Right.
and distributing them at industry events or networking functions.
That's a really interesting idea. It's like taking the digital back to the physical world.
Right.
It could be a great way to make a strong impression and stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're willing to invest in your content
Right.
and that you believe in its value.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
We covered so much ground, from the fundamental principles of white paper creation to some really cutting-edge strategies for distribution and promotion.
It's amazing to see how this seemingly simple format has evolved and adapted over the years.
Hmm.
And it's clear the white papers are still a powerful tool for thought leadership, lead generation, and building brand authority.
Absolutely. But I think the most important takeaway from this deep dive is that white papers are not a one-size-fits-all solution. They're a versatile format that can be tailored to meet a wide range of goals and objectives.
Well said. The key is to be strategic and intentional in your approach.
Right.
Define your goals, understand your audience, and create content that provides genuine value.
And don't be afraid to experiment with different formats, distribution channels, and promotional strategies.
Exactly.
The world of white papers is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay curious and keep learning.
I completely agree. And I hope our listener feels inspired and empowered to create exceptional white papers that make a real impact.
Me too. So go forth, create, share, and never stop diving deep.
It's been an absolute pleasure exploring this topic with you and our listener. Until next time, keep those knowledge-seeking minds engaged.
That's a wrap on another deep dive.